Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Megan Shaw and here are your top stories on Monday the 1st of December. Tunbridge Wells water crisis. Thousands of residents face their third day of disruption.
Once we've got water restored, then we're going to deal with South East Water. We're going to move into accountability mode.
Mayhem outside Maidstone as collapsed wall causes traffic chaos for Kent Village.
It's just impossible to actually park a car outside your own property. And with the amount of traffic, we can't even have the windows open.
And first day of Advent. As the countdown begins to the festive day, we ask the people of Rochester if they have an Advent calendar.
I don't have an advent calendar, I'm 43, I try not to anymore. My daughter does, who's 6.
Our top story tonight, this evening. South East Water customers in Tunbridge Wells are experiencing their third day of disruption, with the number of people affected now rising to a reported 24,000. It comes after issues at Pembury Treatment Works, resulting in a bad batch of drinking water. The local MP has called the situation utterly disgraceful, and our reporter Chloe Brewster has more.
Running water is something many of us take for granted. That's until you suddenly have none. Tens of thousands of people in Tunbridge Wells have been without water since Saturday after a bad batch of chemicals caused Pembury Treatment Works to be shut down.
On the first day of Christmas, South East Water said to the people of Tunbridge Wells there still is no water. It's the day 3 of the water outage here, and people here are coming to collect these bottled waters just behind me there.
My problem now is how we can have our breakfast, because we don't have water to boil, for drinking hot drinks.
You can't wash, you can't do your teeth, and it's just degrading.
With the 2 kids, they frequently go for loo, and we have to clean the hygienic way in the toilets and everything, which is tedious now.
It's like a total nightmare because you can't flush the toilets, you can't do anything.
Teresa Barrett from the Black Horse pub says the lack of water has forced her to cancel her first Christmas event of the season.
We did lose a full day's trade yesterday. Looking at what we would have taken over the bar, we're probably looking at sort of, I don't know, £1,200 over the 2 days. Today would have been more, probably because we had the event this evening. But for me, my rent still needs paying. That's £77 a day. My staff still need paying because it's not their fault that they can't come to work. And that money in the hospitality sector at the minute is just so hard.
Residents say the issue is particularly frustrating after continuous problems with South East Water.
So this is obviously the run-up to Christmas, and we, Saturday, Sunday, really busy shopping weekend. We've had restaurants have had to close. I was just speaking to a hotel owner who's lost £4,000. GPs haven't opened today. Almost none of the schools are open today. The junior employees on the ground, they run the sites really efficiently. You can see behind us, you just drive in, they pick some water up, put it in your boot, and you drive off. But actually at a leadership level, South East Water have totally failed to make sure there's an adequate supply of lorries coming to those sites. Once we've got water restored, then we're going to deal with South East Water. We're going to move into accountability mode.
South East Water's incident manager, Matthew Dean, said, "I'm very sorry to all of our customers in Tunbridge Wells who remain without water or have low pressure today. Customers are beginning to see supplies gradually return. However, we do not expect the majority of customers to have their drinking water fully restored until tomorrow morning. Since the morning, supplies to a further 1,276 properties have been restored, with another 21,000 properties currently still experiencing supply issues. It's a very wet and windy day for people in Kent, but in Tunbridge Wells, they're hoping water starts coming out of the tap rather than the sky." Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Tunbridge Wells.
And I'm joined by Chloe in the studio now. So Chloe, you've been down on the ground today. What was it like?
I think it was organised chaos. I was at Tunbridge Wells Sports Centre, so that's one of 3 water distribution sites. Staff there were clearly working hard. It was a big team. There was a team of people collecting water bottles on the ground, but also people who were just driving there. People were frustrated, but they were in good spirits, many of them.
And what should residents do in the meantime?
So the water stations will remain open until 10 p.m. tonight. You can find one at the Sports Centre, as I said, or the RCP car park, or the Odeon Cinema. If you're a vulnerable person, you can sign up to the South East Water Priority Services Register, which means you'll get bottled water delivered directly to your door.
We don't have much time, but do tell us, do we know yet when water will be back for those residents?
So Mike Martin, the MP, told us that water will return overnight to households with all water back to homes by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, hopefully. So we'll see.
So hopefully that is sorted then by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much, Chloe. A Sittingbourne mum is angry at Meadowfield School after her 9-year-old autistic son escaped the premises and ran into traffic. Lauren, the mum of 9-year-old Jaden, received a call at around 11:26 a.m, informing her that her son had gone missing from the school. He was then seen running along the A2, where he boarded a bus as passengers and the driver alerted the school and did their best to keep him safe from oncoming traffic. Lauren said, "I know everyone has bad days and mistakes do happen, but that was too far." Angela Ho, principal at Meadowfield School, said the safety and well-being of all our pupils at our school is their highest priority, adding, "While we are unable to comment on specific cases to protect the privacy of those involved, please be assured that the appropriate actions have been taken in line with our safeguarding policies and procedures." A public inquiry will determine whether Ashford's Sevington Inland Border Facility will receive permanent status. The 230-acre site opened next to Junction 10A of the M20 in 2021, but only under a 5-year temporary arrangement after a special development order was granted by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. With that arrangement soon running out, bosses are now seeking permanent permission for the site, which also houses a border control post for checks on food and plant products. An inquiry will get underway tomorrow at ABC's International House headquarters. And villagers have slammed traffic chaos in a small Maidstone village after a historic wall collapsed during the Central B Road. Leeds already suffers from lorry drivers causing gridlock. Now those living there say the temporary traffic lights have made the situation worse. But despite the wall being privately owned, Kent County Council say it's working hard to resolve the issue and bring relief to residents. And our local democracy reporter, Ollie Leader, went down, saw the village for himself and said how it impacted the village.
Gridlock along an already busy rat run cut through for motorists. All the result of a wall believed to be hundreds of years old, collapsing along a narrow B road running through Leeds, which villagers believe happened when it was hit by a lorry more than a month ago.
It gets worse here every day. It's like a racetrack through here. We have R6 coming through here, which shouldn't come through here, unless of course it's for the farm up the road there, in which case they've got right of access. But other than that, everyone uses it as a cut through. It's just a nightmare. Quite often it will be bumper to bumper both ways, whether these lights are here or not.
You can see just how much traffic is really building up along Lower Street because of these traffic lights. And they are costing the council £500 a day to operate. And while they are planning to recoup that from the homeowner or the insurance company covering the wall, it is a difficult situation for a village already beset by lorries that they say aren't suitable for the roads here.
I've had several of my cars actually smashed by vehicles coming down. Fortunately, some stopped and some haven't, so it's just an ongoing cost. And unfortunately now, it's just impossible to actually park a car outside your own property. And with the amount of traffic, we can't even have the windows open.
Kent County Council say the temporary road closure is required to safely remove debris and make the wall secure, and once this is complete, the road will reopen to the public, while full repairs to the wall will take place off the highway.
Temporary traffic lights in Leeds are a real bane of my life as well as everybody else's life, because of course that is one of the roads that I use very regularly. HGVs are forced to go through there because there is no other way around at the moment. It's really unfortunate when something like this happens, but look, viewers can rest assured that my highways department are on it. They are fixing the problem as quickly as possible, and we really hope to resume normal service as soon as possible. I certainly hope so.
It's been a difficult few weeks in the village. For those living here, the green light for these repairs cannot come soon enough. Ollie Leader in Leeds.
And just before the break now, in Northfleet High Street, manager of local restaurant The Hot Rod Diner has been praising the community for their support following the reopening. The establishment was forced to close for a week during the October half-term after the major blaze of the Portland Factory Club fire. Manager and part owner of the diner, Lauren Chandler, said this temporary closure could not have come at a worse time, as the diner relied on the weekend customers of the half-term period. Since the reopening on November the 4th, the diner has experienced a flourish of customers, being even busier than they were before the fire. And that's all for now, but after the break, a former Labour MP has spoken out against the latest budget. She called it a misstep. After leaving the party last year, Canterbury Independent Rosie Duffield has taken a firm stance against the current leadership. We'll also be hearing the response from the struggling American diner in Northfleet after it reopened after a major fire nearby, and we'll also see how it's recovering from this massive setback. And finally, we'll get an update on the local sports action. We have everything. We've got the latest football games, the latest rugby, ahead of tonight's new Invicta Sport following Kent tonight. But until then, don't move a muscle, and we'll see you after the break. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. Former Labour MP Rosie Duffield has described the latest budget as a misstep as Kent continues to react to the Chancellor's tax-raising statement. The Canterbury Independents quit the party only a few months on from the election, citing the toxic culture at the heart of the government. But the government says the decisions it's taken will help working people and are necessary to give them the financial headroom needed to fix the economy. Our local democracy reporter Ollie Leader caught up with the outspoken political figure in the aftermath of the budget just last week.
I think people in Westminster often think of Canterbury as a very affluent area, and they often lump London and the South East in one great big group. But like you said, we've got villages where people aren't necessarily in work at the moment, and lots of economic factors about being based down here in this corner of England that make life quite hard sometimes. And we really need parents to not be so reliant on food banks. And everything costs so much money. We all know that at the moment. I think it will really help families with 3 or 4 children just to level the playing field a little bit.
So this sits in a wider context of the budget where we've seen income tax thresholds being frozen, but also increases in the minimum wage. You aren't under the Labour Party yoke at the moment. What do you think about it as someone who used to be a member of this party? Is this a good budget? Has this government finally been listening to its critics, do you think?
I think it's going in the right direction. I was profoundly disappointed there wasn't any help for our hospitality industry. Me and Sir Roger Gale and some other of my neighbours have been fighting for that because obviously tourism is a huge part of our economy in Canterbury and Whitstable, and we need pubs and restaurants and smaller hospitality businesses to be able to make a profit. I know one local coffee shop owner who has 15 coffee shops and made £12 profit last year. That's just unsustainable. So we need those things to improve, and sadly there was no VAT relief, which is the #1 thing we need to happen.
You mentioned hospitality there. Obviously we have seen the sugar, the touted milkshake tax, which will hit cafes like the one you just mentioned, as well as squeezing potentially the ability to hire staff with increases to minimum wage. What do you think the government should be doing with hospitality? Because obviously Canterbury has so many hospitality businesses.
Yeah, exactly. And so many of those businesses were hit all in one go by the business rates, the national insurance contributions and the higher minimum wage. All of that stuff all together was just too much for many businesses to cope with. I think they could have staggered those things. Nobody I know that runs a hospitality business wants to pay young people less than they deserve, but it is really difficult to make ends meet when all of their ingredients are so much more money, their fuel bills are so much more money, and people can't afford to eat out. So it's a perfect storm, which is really difficult for people to weather at the moment.
Do you think the tourism levy that's been touted could potentially help someone like Canterbury weather those financial burdens? Obviously, the Cathedral City is one of Kent's prime tourism hotspots. Will that make any difference, do you think?
I'd be really worried about who directly benefits from that money. If it goes to central government, it won't help us at all. And also, of course, there's the worry that it might put people off from visiting us. If they're struggling a little bit, will they hesitate even more to come here if they know there's a levy? It would be great if it would help those businesses most struggling, but I'm not sure yet how that's going to work.
Obviously, do you think that this budget has silenced the critics of this government? Do you think it's done enough to win over ordinary people, working people, businesses, or is this just another misstep for a government that's already struggled in its first year and a half in power?
I'm afraid it does feel like yet another misstep where the management of the Labour Party are trying to please everyone, which ends up pleasing nobody. I think they needed to be bolder one way or the other. And remember what the Labour Party is for. It's for smaller businesses and people without as much. If there'd been perhaps a wealth tax or, more balance between the haves and have-nots, I think it would have been more Labour, and that would have at least given people a direction to go in. But I'm afraid Labour are losing lots on the left, and I'm not sure it pleased anybody too much in the middle either.
Great interview there from Ollie and Rosie. But now it's time to take a look at the sport from around the county with Chloe Smith.
Starting off with football, Gillingham fought back from a 3-1 down at Shrewsbury with Robbie McKenzie's composed penalty and Elliot Nevitt's late header securing a 3-3 draw. The Gills were 2-0 down after just 22 minutes, and although they got one back for an own goal, Town added a third before the break, and only a superb Jake Turner save prevented them from getting a fourth. Manager Gareth Ainsworth criticised a poor first-half performance but praised the team's spirit, intensity and quality during the comeback. Ainsworth's word of encouragement gave McKenzie the necessary boost. Despite having no recent practice, McKenzie relied on instinct for the crucial penalty. Ashford United co-owner Lloyd Hume stands down as the manager of the Isthmian South East club. Hume had been combining the roles of both manager and co-owner since Danny Kendall was fired in January. Ashford moved out of the Isthmian South East relegation zone on goal difference in Hume's final game in charge, a 1-1 draw at home to Sheppey United on Saturday. Craig Stone will take over as interim first-team manager with immediate effect. Moving on to rugby, Shelford 38, Midway 29, Regional 1 South East match report. Medway lost 38-29 to Shelford in the Regional 1 South East match, but still earned a try bonus point after a strong attacking display. They started well with early tries, with Jonah Hyde putting immediate pressure on the home team from the start. Owen Church-Mills added to the momentum with a skillfully executed crossfield kick, but defensive errors and injured key players allowed Shelford to take control. The result leaves them 7th in the league with 2 home games ahead to regain momentum. Something a bit different, let's see what's happening in golf. Rochester and Coburn Park Golf Club's Justin Cheney is set to follow in the footsteps of golfing legends Tiger Woods and Jon Rahm at the 40th Justin Rose Telegraph Junior Open. The 15-year-old is one of 24 youngsters aged between 12 and 18 competing at Quinta do Lago in Portugal this week. He says that he's feeling quite confident and has been practicing every day after school. Also, he feels he has a bit of an advantage as he competed last year. Cheney has already mirrored Justin Rose this year by winning the Douglas Johns Trophy at the unofficial Under-15 National Championship.
Another great week in Kent for sport. You can find out more of that and more in Invicta, which is just after Kent tonight. But for now, it's time to take a look at the weather. It's a rainy and cloudy night across all of Kent. Temperatures around 9 and 10 degrees this evening. Into tomorrow, things brighten up slightly. Cloudy all around, rain in the east. Temperatures 8 and 9. And into the PM tomorrow, we've got 10, 9 degrees all around, cloudy and showers, unfortunately. Looking ahead into your outlook, rain on Wednesday and Thursday, 9 and 10 degrees. Though the rain does seem to stop by Friday. Still quite overcast though at 10 degrees. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging onto our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you can find all of our reports, including this one about residents in Sevenoaks who protested to save their Greenbelt area. I went down to Sevenoaks just last week and saw this one. This is a good one to watch. Save our Greenbelt! Save our Greenbelt! Save our Greenbelt!
A Greenbelt area is a designated section of countryside which is protected from most forms of development. About 93% of Sevenoaks district is a designated Greenbelt area. I'm stood in one, even though you probably can't tell.
But the darkness is not stopping Sevenoaks residents from making their message clear. The district is set to maybe see 17,000 new homes built between 2027 and 2042, a plan that would require parts of their green belt to be downgraded to a grey belt to make room for the development. On Tuesday, members of the community held a procession to protest the plan.
We're very concerned about the overdevelopment of the area, the demands it'll put on the infrastructure. We had a very long time where the main road was shut off permanently while they rebuilt the sewerage water pipes. So we're very concerned that the infrastructure is not there.
In terms of food security, as a country, we need all the land that we've got for farming, and it's good farming land. It's going to be trashed effectively. It's good grazing, and it's also good arable fields that are being developed. And suddenly, on my little patch, 600 homes going through, it's taking out a huge amount of that area.
They began at Sevenoaks Station and marched to the District Council's headquarters on Argyle Road. They held candles for Mourn the Greenbelt outside the council's meeting.
Our campaign today is going to be a vigil hopefully that's not going to come true. All the candles represent our saving the green belt. We want to save it. We don't want it to die.
A council spokesperson for Sevenoaks District Council said, "We are currently consulting on the new local plan, which includes potential locations for new homes to meet the government's significantly increased housing targets for the Sevenoaks District. The government has instructed us to identify land for 1,145 new homes every year, a 63% increase on the current target. While the new local plan proposes to make the best use of existing built-up areas, we'll have to consider other sites to meet the government's housing target." Sevenoaks District Council's consultation, which includes 30 pop-up events, will close on the 11th of December. Maisie Walker for KMTV, Sevenoaks.
An important report there from Maisie Walker. But still to come on tonight's programme, we're taking a look back at our top story this evening as Tunbridge Wells suffers water supply issues. Our reporter Chloe Brewster has been looking at the worries growing as thousands of residents have been left without water. We'll also hear about a proposal put forward by Kent County Council to create a single Kent Council. The Reform leadership sees it as a shake-up for local authorities and looks to give better value for residents. But until then, you'll have to wait until after the break because we'll be back soon. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Megan Shaw and here are your top stories on Monday the 1st of December. Tunbridge Wells water crisis. Thousands of residents face their third day of disruption. Mayhem outside Maidstone as collapsed wall causes traffic chaos for Kent Village. And first day of Advent. As the countdown begins to the festive day, we ask the people of Rochester if they have an Advent calendar. But first, a look back to our top story this evening. South East water customers in Tunbridge Wells are experiencing their third day of disruption, with the number of people affected now rising to a reported 24,000. It comes after issues at Pembury Treatment Works, resulting in a bad batch of drinking water. The local MP has called the situation utterly disgraceful, and our reporter Chloe Brewster has been finding out more.
Running water is something many of us take for granted. That's until you suddenly have none. Tens of thousands of people in Tunbridge Wells have been without water since Saturday after a bad batch of chemicals caused Pembury Treatment Works to be shut down.
On the first day of Christmas, South East Water said to the people of Tunbridge Wells, there still is no water. It's the day 3 of the water outage here, and people here are coming to collect these bottled waters which are behind me there.
My problem now is how we can have our breakfast because we don't have water to boil, for drinking hot drinks.
You can't wash, you can't do your teeth, and it's just degrading.
With the 2 kids, they frequently go for loo, and we have to clean the hygienic way in the toilets, everything, which is tedious now.
It's like a total nightmare because you can't flush the toilets, you can't do anything.
Teresa Barrett from the Black Horse pub says the lack of water has forced her to cancel her first Christmas event of the season.
We did lose a full day's trade yesterday. Looking at what we would have taken over the bar, we're probably looking at sort of, £1,200 over the 2 days. Today would have been more, probably because we had the event this evening. But for me, my rent still needs paying. That's £77 a day. My staff still need paying because it's not their fault that they can't come to work. And that money in the hospitality sector at the minute is just so hard.
Residents say the issue is particularly frustrating after continuous problems with South East Water.
So this is obviously the run up to Christmas, and we, Saturday, Sunday, really busy shopping weekend. We've had restaurants have had to close. I was just speaking to a hotel owner who's lost £4,000. GPs haven't opened today. Almost none of the schools are open today. The junior employees on the ground, they run the sites really efficiently. You can see behind us, you just drive in, they pick some water up, put it in your boot, and you drive off. But actually at a leadership level, South East Water have totally failed to make sure there's an adequate supply of lorries coming to those sites. Once we've got water restored, then we're going to deal with South East Water. We're going to move into accountability mode.
South East Water's incident manager, Matthew Dean, said, "I'm very sorry to all of our customers in Tunbridge Wells who remain without water or have low pressure today. Customers are beginning to see supplies gradually return. However, we do not expect the majority of customers to have their drinking water fully restored until tomorrow morning. Since the morning, supplies to a further 1,276 properties have been restored, with another 21,000 properties currently still experiencing supply issues. It's a very wet and windy day for people in Kent, but in Tunbridge Wells, they're hoping water starts coming out of the tap rather than the sky." Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Tunbridge Wells.
Now, one Kent, one council. Those are the proposals put forward by Kent County Council's reform leadership as part of a call to shake up the county's local authorities. Instead of dividing the county up into a number of single-tier authorities, KCC argues that one single Kent Council holds the answer to simplifying local government, strengthening services and delivering better value for residents. Here's a clip from our reporter George Walker's interview with KCC leader, Councillor Lyndon Kemp-Carron.
Well, you see, the irony with LGR is it is meant to be giving more power to people, but I think it actually does the opposite. I think by the government's plan to effectively carve up Kent into unitary authorities, I think that removes power from people in the way they have it now, where they can vote for a parish, town, district or borough councillor and then a county councillor. I think the whole prospect of LGR worries me because I think it removes power from there and shoves it up the chain to Westminster. So I find that profoundly undemocratic. So that's why at Kent County Council we rejected the plans to carve up this beautiful county of ours and sort of squeeze it into a preordained model that had been sent down by central government. And we came up with our own plan, which provides Kent and Medway with one council, the strategic authority, the Kent Council, and underneath that we have 3 area assemblies which provide place-based services so that the people that live in those area assemblies still feel that sense of locality, and they have representatives who are plugged into what's happening locally.
And what would the division in terms of what the services that those committees would provide versus the sort of single unitary authority? You know, you've got sort of things like licensing and housing and planning that are often quite specific to localised needs. Would those committees be able to reflect those local needs relative to the unitary authority?
Well, I think if option 1A does become successful, I think it gives us the chance to sort of shake all the pieces up and lay them down in a better way. So our idea is this. So at the moment, Kent County Council provides the core services, the adult social care, the children's care, the education, you know, allocating school places, and of course highways, which is really important, maintaining our roads and motorways. At the Kent Council would still provide those core big services. So again, one of the dangers with the other plans for LGR is dividing up Kent into unitaries. How on earth do you disaggregate those big services and apply them to 3 or 4 or possibly 5 unitary authorities? At the moment, Kent County Council can provide those services at scale, which means we can save money. So we retain that ability with our plan, option 1A. And the local area assemblies will have a very similar structure to the district and borough councils. So they'll be able to provide local services, they'll be able to advise on planning. I think the Kent Council would have strategic authority, so we'd be able to look at Kent and Medway as a whole and decide on the big things like where new housing estates should go, if at all, how much land should be given over to other projects, but it is those area assemblies which will provide the link to local people. That is how democratic our plan is.
You can watch the full unedited interview with Councillor Kim Karen by going to our website www.kmtv.co.uk. You can also watch the rest of our Kent Tonight special on local government reorganisation after Invictus Sport tonight at 7 p.m. Now, charities like Porchlight, who assist less fortunate individuals find accommodation, have noticed a rise in rough sleepers across the county. Earlier we spoke with Dan, a former rough sleeper, who told us about his struggles finding places to stay for him and his dog until being contacted by Porchlight.
Yeah, it just got to a point where people were saying, we can take you, but not your dog. So then we ended up on the streets. Yeah, it's the worst. That's the first ever time I've been on the streets. You know, I've always worked, always had had a partner that was brought up well, and yeah, when I've seen people on the streets, you know, I always bang on the handles, but I've never actually thought, you know, how bad it is. And I can honestly say it was the worst. We was only on the streets for about a week, but it was the worst experience of my life.
Earlier, we spoke to 81-year-old Sittingbourne pensioner Joyce White of Prentice Close. She claims her front wall was hit by an Amazon delivery driver and is horrified that the company won't pay out. On Monday, 3rd November, Joyce went outside to investigate a bang she heard after receiving her parcel, only to find out that the delivery driver had reversed into her wall, destroying several bricks. Amazon rejected her claims form over insufficient evidence. And here's what she has to say here.
The Amazon man in a white van drove up and gave me my parcel. I went indoors, said thank you to him, I came indoors, but sat down in my armchair, and then I heard a bang. I got up straight away as best I could, and I found him standing by the brick wall here. And he's saying, sorry, you'll have to get onto Amazon, And I said, can I have your name, please? No. So I said, have you got paper and pen in the van? No. I said, well, if you wait here, I'll go and get you. By the time I got in, came out, he'd gone. He'd driven off, horrified. And he said, obviously they've had to come up on the pavement. There's no reversing camera in the van.
A Folkestone pensioner tripped over a drain cover, causing him to fall over and break his arm. While enjoying a family day out, Colin was left screaming in pain after tripping over in a busy town centre. Colin Waldron, aged 72, suffered a broken arm and various bruises to his ribs after taking the fall. He spoke with us earlier today.
I was going uphill. There was quite a lot of people around in the street, and I stayed on the pavement rather than in the cobbled path because I thought, oh, the cobbled road looks a bit awkward. And looking up ahead rather than looking at where I was putting my feet, as you do when you're going uphill.
Okay.
And I suddenly tripped on, I didn't know what it was at the time, and went down flat on my face. Well, I put my hand out, obviously, because the injury is to my wrist and to my elbow, and to my right elbow and my right knee, and my ribs are damaged because the camera was on my chest.
You had a camera around your neck?
Yeah, the camera was around my neck, and the camera in like that, and basically I lay there screaming, couldn't move.
And now to music. It's been revealed that DJ, musician and producer Fatboy Slim is to perform at Dreamland Margate next summer. The artist, real name Norman Cook, is a major name in the 90s dance music scene, combining funk, house, hip-hop, acid and rock for his signature sound. That's all we have for now, but catch us after the break. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. As December begins, millions of people are opening the first doors on their Advent calendars, a tradition that actually dates back to 19th century Germany. What began with simple devotional images has since evolved into the modern Advent calendar. But what keeps this tradition so popular? Joining me now is Naila Mohammed, our reporter. So Naila, what is the history behind Advent calendars?
So I'm going to start with the definition of Advent, and it comes from the Latin word adventus, which means arrival. And Advent was originally seen at a time where it marked Christ's second coming in the religious sense. And it wasn't until the Middle Ages, that Advent started to mark the birthday of Christ in Bethlehem himself. And it's thought that the first Advent calendar was actually in 567 AD, when monks would fast the month before Christmas, the month leading up to the 25th. But the idea of counting down to Christmas began in 19th century Germany, where people would mark, just with like a bit of chalk, a tally on a wall or a door. And it was started initially for a little child, which is quite sweet. And then it was in the early 1900s, so the next century, where newspapers and publishing companies would create their own little simple Advent calendars just in their own little newspapers. And then in the 1920s, a guy from Germany called Gerhard Lannig, he had the idea to put these little doors inside and we can fit little things inside. And so he put original biblical characters and biblical verses inside them. And then this did slow down during World War II because of paper rationing, but people still held the belief of Advent calendars. And it picked up again in the 1950s, where people started to then put chocolate and toys.
And you just kind of answered that there, but how have they developed since? Because I know the ones in Lidl definitely don't just have devotional pictures in them anymore.
Absolutely, it has changed so much. I mean, the different nations around the world all do Advent calendars very differently. So over in China, Christians will hang coloured papered lanterns on walls. In Scandinavia, churches will light 24 mini candles for each day leading up to Christmas. And then in Germany, they would hang 24 wreaths, and then open up a little gift as well. So it very much is, still does have the religious essence to it. But modern Advent calendars are digressing away from having its religious purpose. I mean, we're seeing it more now. We're having, you've got jewellery and makeup and perfume. And if you've got a particular niche, it's likely that that niche or interest is going to have some sort of themed Advent calendar. So we are digressing away from that quite a lot. And people are making their own Advent calendars as well now.
Thank you very much, Nelly, for that. Very insightful. Earlier, we went to Rochester to find out how people really feel about owning their own Advent calendars.
Do I think Advent calendars for children? I'll say yes, because that's how they market it towards. So I think even me, maybe because I'm jaded now, because I'm like, I don't really care about Christmas, but if I had an Advent calendar, what would I like? Maybe just like little collectibles, just trinkets.
I think you just forget, maybe, I don't know, because I used to have Christmas with my family in Spain, and then like the family kind of broke up a bit, so it's not been in the regular routine, but we always used to have like an Advent calendar given to us by the grandparents.
I don't have an Advent calendar. I'm 43. I try not to anymore. My daughter does, who's 6.
Motorists are urged to watch out for icy patches as gritters gear up to treat roads around Kent tonight. Kent County Council says road surface temperatures are expected to fall below freezing and is warning drivers to stay vigilant. Main roads in parts of Kent are set to be treated tonight in a bid to prevent ice and frost from forming. A spokesperson said motorists are advised to watch out for icy patches and stretches, particularly on the untreated roads overnight and into tomorrow morning. A weather warning for rain has also set to come into effect tomorrow for much of Kent, but this has since been lifted. And speaking of weather warnings, here's your weather. Again, rainy and cloudy all across Kent tonight. Temperatures around 9 and 10 degrees. Into tomorrow morning, rain lifting in some areas along the west, rain continuing throughout the east. And throughout into the evening, rain again, temperatures rising 9 and 10, so not too bad for December. And your outlook, rain on Wednesday and Thursday, 10 degrees and 9 degrees, clearing up into Friday, still quite overcast and sitting at 10 degrees, which is still quite warm as we move into December. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website. That's kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about a viral K-pop group filming their latest music video in Linton.
Kent has plenty of musical history. Ozzy Osbourne performing in Folkestone Oasis with an early gig in Royal Tunbridge Wells, but now a viral K-pop group has joined the band. Rise are a 6-member boy band group from South Korea and are one of the rising star groups of the K-pop genre, with more than 4.5 million Instagram followers. And for their new single Fame, they filmed their music video at Linton Park, near the village of Linton, by Maidstone. And with K-pop's popularity growing globally, it's no surprise to stans, which basically means enthusiastic fans, here in the UK, that groups have started branching out. To get more of an idea of the reach of the genre, I spoke to our health expert, Dr. Julian Spinks, who's also an expert on K-pop.
They're a relatively new K-pop band. They've only been around for a couple of years, but they're starting to make a name for themselves, and they are in one of the big concerts with a number of bands in June. And I hope they come back to Kent and we become their second home. And also maybe it'll start to encourage people in Kent to take more interest in K-pop and other Asian pop genre.
Now, it's fair to say that K-pop has become a global sensation, with groups like Blackpink, Twice and Cat's Eye climbing the charts every day. And it's even crossed over into film, with K-pop Demon Hunters being a huge success. And now that we can say that K-pop has officially arrived here at Linton Park and in Kent, does this mean Kent will become a new hub for the genre, or is it too soon to expect everyone to be a stan? As I stood there, I considered that if Kent would become the European centre of K-pop, we should get a head start and make our own Kent pop group. So I took to Maidstone's High Street to find some rising stars that might rival Rise. But it didn't get off to a great start. Can you name any bands?
The Smiths.
No, as in K-pop bands.
No,
Do you guys know any K-pop artists?
No.
Don't know. That's okay. That's okay. Can you guys sing?
No.
Okay. Can you dance?
Yeah.
You can dance. Okay, brilliant. And can you speak any Korean?
No.
Can you guys sing?
Yeah.
She can, yeah.
You can sing. Okay, perfect. What about dancing? How are we there?
Yeah, I'm
He's
good
a
at
dancer
dancing.
as well.
So, do you think that K-pop could become bigger in England and Kent?
Yeah, I think it already is pretty big because, like, I know K-pop Demon Hunters, the Netflix show, their music hit like top charts even in the UK. So I feel like people just need to open up a bit more about it because it's in a different language, so people don't really understand it, don't really want to know it. But I feel like it's just happy. It makes me happy personally.
And here's our lineup, an all-girl group, except for Connor, and I'm of course the manager. When I had my team assembled, unfortunately we decided to not go ahead with the band, but hopefully Kentish K-pop fans will be happy to see more artists and groups like Rise doing work here in the county. Finn McDermott for KMTV in Linton.
Coming up after the break is another episode of Invicta Sport with all the latest sports from around the county. But before we go, let's take a look back at this weekend's football results.
Well, Dartford are on brilliant form lately, with recent wins against Chichester and Whitehawk in their last few outings. And they return home now to take on Dulwich Hamlet, a bastion of non-league, who this season found themselves right around the mid-table. But can they challenge the Darts and hopefully take flight into a top spot? Let's find out. And the Darts are on them from the off, winning possession and a brilliant line-breaking pass from Dan Carter there, builds it up, and it's left without a white shirt behind it, but a very good start. And they continue peppering the Dulwich keeper with shots, but nothing coming from it. Oh, but they've kept it in now. Carter's on it again, passes it around. He finds Sam Smith, who hits it, and the Hamlet can only watch as it bobbles into the corner. Not the only Sam Smith that can make a crowd sing. That puts the Darts up by 1. Ollie Box works his way into the box, but can't get it on target. Feels like they're reaching for a second before they break, but can they find it? Now Hamlet are finally trying to level out the game here. Passes out to the wing. Sean Bonnet-Jackson brings it inside and Solbo has a go, but it goes wide to end a first half that Dulwich will want to forget. Into the second now, and Dan Carter has a pop himself, but not enough to find it to the top corner. And oh my goodness, Ollie Box, what a strike. If I ever saw a dart flying that fast, I'd leave the pub in fear. What a shot. Just a shame it was deflected. And the Hamlet on the offensive, but it doesn't go anywhere. A little too much on that last pass. And nearing the end now, can Hamlet pull off a heartbreaking comeback? Goes to Alfie Payne, a good strike, but not good enough. That is full time, and the Darts have 3 points there. The scoreline does not reflect what a game that was to watch. But how lucky were our other Kent sides? Elsewhere in the Isthmian Premier, Chatham suffered a home loss, conceding 4 goals in a match to forget for the normally on-form Chats. Ramsgate saw a 2-2 draw away to Whitehawk, and Folkestone took down Chichester with 3-0. Next up, current league leaders Folkestone will face Brentwood Town at home. Ramsgate hope to avenge Chatham playing St Albans. The Darts will travel to Lewis, and Chatham will hope to emulate Folkestone with a trip to Chichester. Now to League 2, and as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, then at least score a few goals while you're out there. With a 3-3 draw away to Gareth Ainsworth's old side Shrewsbury, they managed to come back from 3-1 down in the first half and should be very happy with the lone point. The Gills will head to Colchester next week and hope for a victory after the last 3 consecutive draws. In the National League South, Dover managed a 2-0 brawl against Slough Town. Ebbsfleet weren't quite as lucky, taking only a point away from their clash to Farnborough, and Maidstone took full marks against Salisbury, while Tunbridge ruined what would have been a full sweep in the National League South with a loss to Hemel Hempstead. Next, Dover head to Chesham, Ebbsfleet face Worthing, the Stones will take a weekend trip to the historic city of Bath, and the Angels will be praying for a better result this time around against Torquay. And I'm afraid that is it for this week's Football Roundup.
Great roundup there from Finn, and more tonight just after this on Invicta. But for now, you've been watching KMTV.